It's lovely to be here today with Alex van Gestel, who is the CEO of Verbalisation, just to talk about some of our key stories of the week. How's your week been so far?
It's been pretty hectic actually so far, but glad to have a break, glad to meet you. So thanks for coming in.
It's lovely to meet you too. We thought we'd start by talking about General Mills, who you have a relationship with, existing relationship.
I visited them twice in Minneapolis, and it's an amazing company, amazing brands, and I think doing some really interesting things in the community as well. So yeah, it was quite nice to see the article this week in M&M.
As you would have read, they're doing a review at the moment, and they're looking for an agency with 50% women. Yes. And 20% people of colour. Do you think that's the way forward, to enforce these quotas when you're looking for an agency to work with?
I think, I firmly believe that if you want to drive change, you have to start from the top. And certainly my experience of General Mills, and I have some friends that work there, people like Michael Fanwell, who is part of the review. Driving change, you have to kind of set some metrics, and I guess you have to hold yourself to those metrics. And I think pushing that into agency land, I think is a strong signal of where things are moving. I think it's a very good move. It's good that a big global company like General Mills is kind of setting a standard, which is good, and not just on its kind of agency policy, but also I think the way that they get behind certain initiatives like the LGBT work that they did last year with Lucky Charms, the world's most rainbowist cereal, I think it was. An absolutely brilliant campaign. So I think it's not just about setting policy, but it's also, I think, behaving in a way that really is very humane and very very focused on doing the right thing, which I think they're doing. I think it sets a new standard for, I think, a lot of big global multinationals to up the quota and behave in ways that are consistent with what I think the average person on the street would probably agree with.
I mean, do you think there will come a time when it's not necessary to set these quotas, and this is just how workforces are divided?
Well, I think that time will come, but how quickly is probably not quickly enough. If you look at the spat between Cindy Gallop and Kevin Roberts, just from a few weeks ago, it kind of sends a signal that there is still a lot of change required, and often there's barriers to that change, certainly within some of the big holding companies. So I think, yes, the time will come, but will it happen soon enough? Probably not. So I think these quotas are part of forcing that agenda, and it's almost a kind of wake-up call, I suppose, for the industry.
Another story that we've had on our website this week has been Mark Zuckerberg commenting that Facebook is not a media company. Do you agree with that? What do you think is the separation between companies like Facebook and traditional media companies?
It depends on how you look at what defines a company. I'm firmly of the view that what defines a company is why they exist. Mm-hmm. And if you believe Mark Zuckerberg, that they exist to provide people with the tools that connect them with friends and with family and with the people they love, but also the things, the content they care about. So in that sense, it's a tech company that's providing tools for helping people connect, and he's true to his word on that. Obviously, the fact that they make 95% of their revenue from advertising, if you look at kind of the how and the why, to kind of quote the Simon Sinek piece, yes, of course they're a media company in terms of their earnings, but I think fundamentally they're a tech company that is about enabling people through smart technology, through tools to connect better. And in that sense, are they a threat to media companies? I think they are, but probably not from a editorial perspective. I mean, still fundamentally, companies like News UK and others are the sources of great journalism, the sources of great news, but increasingly the distribution of that is being disintermediated, and Facebook's one of the biggest protagonists in that. And so where people will find their news, where people will consume their news, is on Facebook, and obviously that's where the advertisers are now going. So I think in my view, I think what genuinely Zuckerberg believes is he's in the business of creating tech and tools that connect people, and that's how he defines the company. based on the why. But in terms of the what and the how, it's still fundamentally a media business because of its income.
Fair enough. Another story we featured on our website this week has been to do with McDonalds and Omnicom and the bespoke agency of the future that they're working towards. Do you think that the agency model is fundamentally flawed? Is this the way forward with agency model?
I think it's a way forward. It's interesting if you look at the General Mills review. It's quite different to the McDonald's review, but it's still fundamentally a global consolidation play, and the industry continues to consolidate. And obviously it's changing rapidly and kind of refocusing its core on digital and data. I think it's great news for the industry in the sense that holding all of its partners to account for performance and delivery and focusing that on metrics rather than old ways of doing it, such as the rebate in media performance. I think it's good news. I think it's difficult. It forces a new way of working. I understand that certain people backed out of the review because it was quite a radical departure from the norm. It puts the onus back on holding companies to really drive the integration agenda. I think I've had those types of roles. It is very, very hard, managing a lot of different companies that are relatively independent within a larger holding company structure, incentivized differently, different P&Ls and so forth. So if Omnicom's found a way of kind of smashing that together and herding all of the cats, then it looks like in the case of McDonald's they have. I think it moves it all forward again.
Moves the goalposts maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something to watch.
I do think that the performance-based incentive is the way that things are moving. Obviously, if you get your cost base covered, and your margins on performance, then you have skin in the game, and as long as there's some significant upside, if you do perform and you do deliver across all the points, that's the way to go. And I think increasingly it looks you have to take a kind of broader view on the business metrics as well. And I think we're all guilty of focusing too much on what we push out into the world rather than the kind of the pull factor that we create for our brands that we work on. So I think there's a shift now and a recognition that everything needs to communicate, whether that's employees in a call center. It's not just about the communications that come out. It's about how what you create as a partner to clients actually then manifests across all of their business internally and externally. So in that sense, more focus on the pull and less focus on the push, and being measured by that and incentivized kind of more holistically. That's got to be good news.
Yeah, definitely. It's all hands on deck in my office at the moment because we've got the M&M Awards coming up next week. Yes, I'm celebrating already. Obviously, surviving a ceremony can be a little challenge, What do you think are your survival tips so as not to embarrass yourself perhaps at a awards ceremony, for people who haven't been before?
Yeah, just three things probably. So I'm a firm believer in celebrating your victory very fast, because obviously the next day it's gone. Yeah. So go all in. But it's I think the second thing is your people are your biggest asset. And I think kind of recognizing everyone that's involved, recognizing everyone that's made the win possible is really key. And it takes a village to get to greatness, right? And to get to great work and have bring those creative babies into the world. So I think the recognition piece, and often it is the kind of leadership and the top clients that go there, but the reality is it is that assistant brand manager or that junior copywriter that took the risk and pushed the idea and stayed up all night. And so I think recognizing everyone. And I think the third one is is having the Barocca the next day, making sure, and there's a McDonald's around the corner as well, so an Egg McMuffin usually does the trick.
Yes, everybody likes a good Egg McMuffin, don't they, first thing the day after. Well, thank you ever so much for chatting to us. Have you got any big plans for the weekend?
I have some big plans, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Okay, well,
I'm going to try and see you at Grosvenor House next week.
Brilliant. Well, see you there. Have a lovely week.